Welcome to Bike Comparos. Today we'll be comparing the Dominar 400 versus the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Pricing and features. The Dominar 400 ABS retails for 1.68 lakh rupees on road Delhi, which is actually 6,000 rupees cheaper than the Himalayan non-ABS costing 1.74 lakh rupees. Dominar 400 is also available without ABS for a 15,000 rupee lower price tag than the ABS version. Apart from the ABS, Dominar 400 has a long list of extra features over the Himalayan like slipper clutch, LED headlamp, and even something as basic as tubeless tires for God's sake. Performance and tractability. Royal Enfield's brand new 411cc engine is perfect in intent. It has a long stroke undersquare layout with a 78 bore and an 86 stroke, which would have been spot on for cross-country touring if only the execution was as good as the plan. The motor is seriously short on refinement and heat management and is in a dire need of some honing on the testbed. However, it is fantastically tractable at low revs with a gutsy mid-range for relaxed touring. Power tails off towards the red line and it starts becoming excessively harsh and noisy. But it's got some real potential that could be unleashed by Royal Enfield if only they would fine-tune it a little better. The Dominar borrows the ultra oversquare block from the Duke 390, which was never meant for duty on a heavyweight touring bike. It feels unexpectedly weak at lower revs, which coupled with the muted exhaust note makes the bike feel much slower than it actually is around town. Once the road opens up, it leaves the Himalayan far behind, beating it by over 2 seconds to the 100 kph marker as well as a 15 kph higher top speed. Reliability and after-sales service. The biggest concern for rational buyers wanting to buy the Himalayan remains the terrible track record of the parent brand for reliability, or rather the lack of it. The fact that the Himalayan is powered by the brand's very first attempt at grounds-up engine development in the country poses an even bigger risk for the intenders. Teething troubles are a given and recalls for component changes have already begun. Only problem is, what if the failure strikes when you are hundreds of kilometers off the grid, or worse still, there is no permanent solution for a design flaw, which is where the Dominar is bound to fare slightly better purely going by the historical statistics, but nevertheless, it is advisable to wait on the sidelines for a couple of months and track actual customer feedback on the forums before we bite the bait. Fuel efficiency. The Dominar was consistently over 2 kmpl more efficient than the Himalayan in our back-to-back tests. Resale and cost of ownership. Since the Himalayan is not a conventional Royal Enfield, its resale value is bound to be lower than the Classics and Thunderbirds, whereas the Dominar's resale value, though not great, is bound to be better than the 200NS. Overall, the Dominar 400 works out to be just 15,000 rupees or 5% cheaper than the Himalayan in terms of total cost of ownership, but that does not include the cost of repairs, which could wildly swing the calculations in favor of the Dominar. Handling and ride quality. Neither of these two bikes are meant for city commutes given their long wheelbase and massive curb weights. The Himalayan is meant to be the SUV of two-wheelers, while the Dominar was perhaps intended to be the Innova of two-wheelers. Just like the Innova, the Dominar is a capable tourer with forgiving suspension setup which is perfect for the open road, but lacks the agility around switchbacks and doesn't have the tight body control of sprinters, which is evident in the excessive pitching that happens when you grab the front brake. It is no off-roader, but it can trample over broken surfaces all day without even breaking a sweat. The Himalayan, on the other hand, is a mountain goat. It feels most at home on trails rather than tarmac. Its knobbly tires and high CG was never intended for corner carving, although it can confidently take on long sweeping bends without ever having to slow down. Its long travel suspension with the bespoke link-type monoshock has resulted in one of the most comfortable ride qualities on the market. Comfort and ergonomics. The Himalayan has a purely upright seating position with a comfortable seat squab perfect for spending hours in the saddle. You can also ride standing up on the foot pegs on the trails. The Dominar also has a generous perch for the rider, but the big girth of the tank and immense tank extensions make it feel unmaneuverable in rush hour traffic. Himalayan may look more manageable with its small tank and minimal bodywork, but once astride, you realize it is even more of a handful than the Dominar in city traffic. However, with all the steel piping running across the Himalayan's bodywork and the tall windscreen, Royal Enfield has sorted out the practicality aspect of their bike for the tourers. Which brings us to the verdict. If the Himalayan had been made by a more dependable manufacturer, it would have been the clear winner of this test. There's a unique, unmistakable charm to the thing. It is definitely quirky, a bit oddball, and unmistakably distinctive, but there's a lovable honesty to it. It is like a whimsical artist who is a bit socially awkward but is bloody good at what he does. It stands no chance against the Dominar on dry numbers or on gadgetry or even technology, but it easily trumps the Dominar on sheer feel, on the satisfaction you derive out of riding it, and the fulfillment that a rider attains from taking it along for a ride. It's the little things where it shines, like the unrefined but rorty exhaust note akin to a British Spitfire, the wonderfully progressive and sorted suspension setup which makes off-roading a rewarding pursuit, and the commanding riding position which makes you feel in control of the lanky behemoth. But just when you are ready to cut a check for the Himalayan, reality raises its ugly head. Royal Enfield is known for its teething troubles, albeit of a different nature. Its 60-year-old bikes have teeth troubles, just like 60-year-old people who need to get dentures. Himalayan already has multiple issues like clutch stiffness, false neutrals, battery failure, chain sprocket wear out, low fuel efficiency, etc. being reported by the owners. Not that the Dominar is going to be 100% trouble free either, but it cannot possibly be as bad as the Himalayan, making it the de facto winner of this test.